These are the 3 types of failure, but only one you should actually feel bad about. Failing sucks. Whether it's your first or 15th time bombing a presentation, messing up a circulation, or bumbling through an interview, the sting of rejection never quite wears off. And while Silicon Valley gurus preach the importance of failing fast, failure supposedly being the key to success, it's easy to take real-life, everyday failures personally. When we screw something up, most of us blame ourselves, feel terrible, and then resort to deflection. It's not me, it's them, we think. This cycle isn't just exhausting, it's useless. Failure presents invaluable learning and growth opportunities, which is why the tech world finds the concept so buzzworthy. But to extract such learnings, we need to analyze not only the failed result, but also the failure itself. This is the step most people skip. According to Amy Edmondson, a leader and management professor at Harvard Business School, the key to effective analyzing our failures, she says, is realizing that not all failures are the same. Per her research, there are 3 distinct types of failure, some of which should rightly spark self-questioning or embarrassment, and some which should not. The first type is a preventable failure. The first and most obvious type of failure is the preventable failure, which is essentially what it sounds like, a failure that you had the knowledge and ability to prevent. Most failures in this category can indeed be considered bad, said Edmondson. She writes in the Harvard Business Review, they usually involve deviations from spec in the closely defined processes of high volume or routine operations in manufacturing and services. With proper training and support, employees can follow these processes consistently. When they don't, deviance, inattention, or lack of ability is usually the reason. But in such cases, the causes can be readily identified and solutions developed. Outside the professional realm, a preventable failure may be getting a bad grade on a test for which you didn't study, even though you understood the subject matter, or angering your roommate by not cleaning the bathroom sink, even though it was your responsibility to do so. Feeling bad about yourself after such a failure is reasonable and often necessary, because the error is usually the result of laziness, entitlement, or reluctance to follow instructions. To minimize preventable failures, especially at work, Edmondson suggests creating process-oriented checklists, a strategy Harvard surgeon Atul Gurtan unpacks in his best-selling book, The Checklist Manifesto. Another solution is the vaunted Toyota production system, which encourages continual learning from tiny failures. The second type of failure is complex failures. As the name suggests, complex failures are a more complicated cousin of preventable failures. These failures have high potential to promote learning in workplaces, as Edmondson recently explained in the New York Times. Complex failures occur when we have good knowledge about what needs to be done, we have processes and protocols, but a combination of internal and external factors come together in a way to produce a failure outcome. These type of failures happen all the time in hospital care. For example, when there's not enough vitality or complexity in the environment that things just happen. Complex failures can also be understood as unavoidable failures, which makes it difficult to assign responsibility for them, says Edmondson. They can happen when a particular combination of needs, people, and problems occur that's never occurred before. Much like triangulating patients in a hospital emergency room or responding to enemies on a battlefield, running a fast-growing startup can produce many unpredictable situations. Edmondson writes that it's counterproductive to consider this type of failure bad because noticing small failures of this type is what prevents future mistakes. Intellectual failures. The third and juiciest form of failure in terms of learning potential is intellectual failure. This is the type of failure Silicon Valley entrepreneurs talk about when they promote failing fast or failing forward. Intellectual failures occur when experimentation is necessary, when answers are not knowable in advance because the exact situation hasn't been encountered before and perhaps never will be. Often, these failures occur when we're working in areas in which we lack expertise or in areas that are uncharted, never done before, in a broad industry-wide sense. For example, an intellectual failure has occurred when you launch a new product that's never been launched before and it fails. Or if you're discovering new drugs, creating radically new businesses, or testing customer reactions to a new product, and the experimentation doesn't go well. In those circumstances, you should tell everybody about your failure. If we don't discuss intelligent failures, it's likely that other people will repeat the same mistakes, which makes organizations and individuals increasingly efficient over time. Edmonton writes in HBR, failures in this category can rightly be considered good because they provide valuable new knowledge that can help an organization leap ahead of competition and ensure its future growth. Trial and error is a common term for this kind of experimentation needed in, but it's a misnomer because error implies that it was right outcome in the first place. At the frontier, the right kind of experimentation produces good failures quickly. Managers who practice it can avoid the unintelligent failure of conducting experiments at a larger scale than necessary. Ultimately, all failure should be contemplated, not ignored. And while feeling bad about yourself is sometimes warranted, it should never be permanent. More often than not, failure is a way to learn something you didn't know before. And as all the greats say, knowledge is power.